Divergent realism is a term I created to refer to a series that starts out in reality until the thing happens, with the story covering the early days of a fantasy, magical, sci-fi or supernatural series, where the world still functions the same as ours outside of the existence of the thing. For instance, Steins is a divergent realism story. When the story first begins, it is set in a realistic story that follows a university engineering student living his life, going to lectures, hanging out with his friends, messing around with technology, and accidentally inventing viable time travel. Which from that point, the story diverges from reality and becomes about coming to understand how time travel works and what the implications of such a discovery means, and the ramifications of such. However, even though we don't see much of it in the story, beyond the discovery of time travel, everyone else is just living their lives, working their 9 to 5s, having problems, enjoying their days off, raising a family or searching for love. Even though the story of Steins revolves around time travel, the world itself doesn't. Death Note is another example of divergent realism. The world is the same as ours, students studying for exams, criminals committing crimes, and the law enforcement trying to stop them. Then, when the Death Note is dropped into the human world, the story diverges from realism and becomes supernatural. However, beyond the existence of the Death Note, just like with Steins everyone else is still living a normal life, working their 9 to 5, where if you don't break the law, your life will continue on as normal, same as before the Death Note was dropped into the human world. However, if you do break the law, you have a chance of being killed for your actions. Divergent realism is a story about a realistic world that, outside of the one thing that diverges from reality, is still the same. I would say even Assassination Classroom is divergent realism. A story about students going to school, living their lives, and trying to get into a good university. A realistic depiction of the world. And then Koro Sensei shows up and threatens to blow up the planet next March if Class E can't kill him before then. The divergence from reality. Living their life in school. Teacher shows up, threatens to blow up the planet. Divergence. Beyond the fact that the students of Class E are being trained to kill their teacher and being taught military tactics and combat training, they are still training for their classes. They are still studying for their classes, and they are trying to get into a good university and live their best adolescent lives, despite the fact that the world may end next March, where the rest of the world, outside of those in the know, have no idea Koro Sensei even exists or the world destruction looms over their head. They're still planning for the future, worrying about the little things and working for their paycheck. Other series that I would say fall under divergent realism would be Parasite, Number 6, and Persona 4. However, series like My Hero Academia, Solo Leveling, Kaiju Number 8 aren't divergent realism because by the time the series comes about, the supernatural, magical, fantastical, or sci-fi had already become the norm, where society and the world revolved around the thing. And that which would be considered abnormal became everyday, such as calling your boss to tell you that you're going to be late due to a criminal, gate, or kaiju. That being said, there are also series like Tokyo Ghoul or Devilman Crybaby, which are series I refer to as subjective divergent realism, where the story begins off in divergent realism, where the thing exists, but the world still exists beyond it. However, by the end of the series, the entire world revolves around the thing. And yeah. Some of you may argue that Death Note belongs in this category, and while I can see your point, I also believe that on a spectrum of divergent realism and not divergent realism, subjective divergent realism sits right in the middle, and Death Note sits somewhere between divergent realism and subjective divergent realism. Where that is, that's up for you to decide. But that is my idea of what divergent realism is. Let me know what you think. Until next time, see ya.